Life is good. Breathe into this moment. Let us become present here and now, because we're going to have a little talking to. I love January for so many reasons, but in particular, at our level of community, it's sort of a tradition for us to spend January returning to kind of what are the basics? What is it that Science of Mind teaches? How do you use that? What the heck is this thing anyways? And so that's sort of our intention this year. Our yearly theme, our annual theme for us is the power of spiritual living. And so each month we're going to take an idea of the power of. This month is the power to create. And this is, in essence, what Science of Mind is all about. You see, for many of us, we may have come out of traditions that helped us or led us to believe that we were not powerful beings. We may have come out of traditions that told us that we were at the effect of life. Some of us even inherited a concept of the divine as this man, generally, who rewarded some and punished others. So then you're left to figure out what is the formula to get on the right side of that ledger, right? To be rewarded. But oh no, some of you went to searching. You got on your internets, or you started going to classes, or you started doing some things, and you began to perhaps question some of the fundamental principles that we may have grown up with. So what I want you to know is I'm not here to say anybody else is wrong. It's just we're more right. No. I'm kidding, really. But our thinking and our thought process evolves, doesn't it? So most of us in this room have heard at one time or another that our thoughts have the power to create our reality. Have you heard this? Yes. This is not breaking news to you, right? If it is, you've been sleeping through the lessons, and so we get that, right? So, nothing else to say. Your thoughts create your reality. Go think. So at some level, we know this to be true. Emerson says to us, "Great are they that see that the spiritual is stronger than the material force, that thoughts rule the world." Jesus says to us, "It is done unto you as you believe." The Buddha says your thinking today leads to your experience tomorrow. So there is a great tradition of this idea that we are co-creative beings with an infinite intelligence. For those who were here last week, we talked about this idea that there is a field of infinite potentiality, that there's an energy, that in fact this universe in which we live is only energetic, and that we're all some part of that. We're working from a lovely book. If you haven't seen it, read it, or know about it, it's by Pam Grout called E Squared. 9 do-it-yourself energy experiments that prove your thoughts create your reality. That prove your thoughts create your reality. Now, again, I talked last week about, are we going to have theoretical metaphysics or are we going to have applied metaphysics? Because it's a wonderful thing to sit in study groups and to sit in rooms and contemplate the nature of the divine and the universe and all that sort of thing. And I say, I know a lot of people who are metaphysicians from the neck up. Right? But do we live from that awareness that it is in this presence that we live and move and have our being? So if we accept the premise that there is a field of infinite possibility, that there is a energetic field, then it must be everywhere present. Now, we have many, many traditions that help us to understand at some level how this works. Most recently, quantum physics is helping us to understand this very idea. And so what Pam Grout is talking about is sort of helping us to understand from this quantum physical level how this process works. I love that in a way because it kind of sets God aside. Let's just put God over here on the throne again, and let's just talk about the way life works, right? That there's an energetic field and everything is connected to it, which would imply, if you follow the reasoning, including you, that you are a part of that field of energy, that you are an individualized point of consciousness within this infinite field of potentiality. And so we then understand that we are co-creative beings as a part of that unfolding consciousness. You with me? Yeah. Believe it? Yes. That was kind of weak, but I'm going to take your word for it. Of course we believe it, most of the time. Until it comes to that particular issue that we hold most dear and are completely unwilling to let go of. Right? I mean, yeah, I get that. I totally get that. I get it. But I'm talking about my money, right? Right? You know? So it's like, yeah, I get it. We're part of an infinite creative potential, and that we are co-creative with it according to our thought, our belief, our word, our action. And so unless we are willing to change at some level, then life continues to be the same way that it is. Now, when I came into the teaching, I was looking for something new, but I came out of a tradition that gave me a different model for the divine. 2 destinations. One up, one down, you know? And I was pretty sure I was going on the down elevator because, of what I was told. And then these people started talking to me about this science of mind. And they said, Ernest Holmes, who was this wonderful thinker, says to us that there is a consciousness, which he referred to as mind. We might call it something different today, but and that the science of mind says to us, here's how science works. If you think about it, general terms, science says, let us take an idea, a theorem, and then let us put that into the laboratory of life and test it and see if it works over and over and over and again. And if it does work, then we have proven our theorem, and now we have the basis for awareness and understanding. So we begin to understand we begin to understand principles, we apply them, and then we see that it works over and over and over. The science of it says anybody can prove this principle. So we do it in so many different ways when we look at principles. I often use the example of electricity. I mean, electricity is a good one, but also of gravity. And gravity is one of those things. Nobody sees it. Nobody can identify it. Nobody can find it. They're like, go find gravity, right? And yet, somehow we know it's there. All of you are practicing it right now. Not a single person floating away, right? Everybody's just sitting right there in your chair without a whole lot of effort, right? Because so we begin to understand, there's a principle. I don't have to be able to see it to know it works, but I do observe how reality is unfolding. And I say, there must be something behind that. With the spiritual dimension, we've looked and said, here's what we are discovering. Is that a person, according to the way they think, and really more importantly than what they think, what they believe, that becomes a co-creative force with this field of infinite possibility to create results. You with me so far? Believe it? Okay. I'm not buying it, but I'm going to keep going anyways. So what we know is that there is a creative intelligence and that we can use it. Ernest Holmes said very powerfully, humanity never creates. What we do is we discover and use. So we didn't create gravity, but we did discover it, and now we can actually use it for defined purpose. We didn't create electricity, but we discovered the way it works, and now we can use it for a greater good, or ill if we choose. We don't create the spiritual laws, but if we're wise enough, we can discover them and we can utilize them. So what we begin to understand is that we are infinitely engaged in our life. Now, I know in my life, I am perfectly happy, willing, and able to take credit for everything that works. I know. That's what I was thinking. Brilliant. Yes, that's what I was thinking. It's amazing. The areas that it doesn't work is somebody else's fault. Simple, right? It's the economy, it's the thing, it's the thing, it's the thing. Now, inevitably, as I start talking about your life is the mirror of your consciousness and everything that is happening in your life is a reflection of you, somebody, usually Linda, the medicator, let us be in 40 days of deep medication, she says. Now, just so you know, Linda is my buddy. Other than joking about myself, she comes in number 2, because I always know she can laugh it off. But, you know, Linda, for those who don't know, Reverend Linda is a chaplain at the Huntsman Institute. She works on a daily basis with very sick and dying people. She is a loving presence in the midst of some not so pretty things. And so she said a question the other day I thought was just brilliant. She's like, I'm trying to reconcile in my own being what you're saying on Sunday morning with what I'm witnessing the rest of the week. Right? Why would anyone create that? So here's what I want us to hear. We need to do simple before we can do advanced. And so we're looking at the simple process of co-creation today. Now, sometimes we create things in our life that we did not consciously choose or want, right? Anybody ever done that besides me? Okay. This is not to have a conversation about what's wrong with your consciousness. What were you thinking? Right? So our hearts are open and compassionate. I'm not going to say anything about anybody, but for us in the room, I invite you to look at the words that I speak today to see for the practical application in your own life. Because here's what I believe, is that the way we move forward with this whole process is we must be willing to accept responsibility for our lives. We must be willing to accept responsibility that in some way I am participating in my life. And therefore everything that is in my life. So we're going to do you today. Tomorrow you can do the world if you want to take it all on. What about the hurricanes? I don't know. I'm not going to worry about hurricanes today. Let's just talk about you and me and how we show up using principles in our life, okay? When we get mastery there, we'll take on hurricanes, right? So I don't want to diminish the experience that people are having, and I'm not trying to produce guilt here. I remember so well a dear, sweet woman who I counseled with, and she essentially ran out of the sanctuary one Sunday, and the minister was saying, in good science of mind fashion, everything in your life is a reflection of your consciousness. She had just lost her son to suicide. That was not a helpful message that day. So I want us to hear this. This is not about producing guilt. It's not about placing blame. Because so often what we do is we come out of a guilt-ridden way of being. I grew up in a tradition that honored and celebrated guilt as a way of life. I mean, if you're a worm of the earth, it's not so great, right? You're born flawed and goes downhill from there. I say, have a great life. Thank you. Right? And so the question is, why are you doing this to me? Right? Then we come into metaphysics and we get all enlightened and we realize we're co-creative, powerful beings. And we say, why am I doing this to me? Right? That's why I call new improved metaphysical guilt. Now it's turned inward. Right? So this is not about blame. Hear me when I say this. But here's what I would suggest to you. Until we are willing to take responsibility at whatever level for what's happening in our life, we have no power. We are at the effect of things, and we feel victimized. Notice, if you will, if you ever find yourself saying, I have to. I recently sat down and wrote down all the things that I had avoided for about the last 3 weeks, because, it was the holidays and who does work and whatever. And I sat down all the uncompleted things. Flip that page. Write down more, flip that page, write down more. And I heard myself saying, I have to, and felt myself getting smaller and smaller and smaller and going, ugh, I hate my life. Right? And I was like, Marty, can I talk to you for a minute? Yes, thank you. Linda's saying medication, her answer for everything is, this is the life you've chosen. So all of these things either choose to do or choose not to do. And immediately I found my energy like, oh, this is what I choose to do, right? And maybe I choose not to do some of them yet. Or maybe I choose not to do some of them ever, right? That's powerful. It moves it from being a should goal to a chosen goal. And when I'm in choice, I know I'm powerful. So I was like, okay, I got a great year coming up. This is going to be exciting. We're going to manifest stuff. We're going to make things happen. But until we take responsibility for the way we show up for life, it can't really change for us. When we are willing to recognize that we are powerful, co-creative beings, then we begin to listen to that voice that is within us that may not quite believe this yet. Right? That old voice that we've carried around for a very long time, that has its origins in some other time and some other place, that sneaks in every once in a while to remind you of who you're not. Right? We say, thank you for sharing. I'm not that person. Today I choose to be a powerful person. Today, with complete certainty, I create the life I want. With conviction, I let divine action flow through me. And now I'm co-creating anew. Because here's the thing. If we exist in a field of infinite possibility, everything is happening all at once. If we let all that in, we would explode. 1 minute. Overstimulated, right? We would just explode. Think about it. Right now, in this room, there's hundreds of radio stations vibing, right? But unless you have a radio, you're not plugged in. What if you just heard all of that? You'd be like, oh my God, somebody turn off something, right? So our brains are wonderful. Our consciousness is wonderful. It says, aha, we've got to select. We've got to get selective focus here and pay attention. Now, how many times have you gone to the store with something in mind and found it? A lot, right? Pretty regular, I hope, huh? No? You take your little shopping list, you go down the aisles, but then all of a sudden you have to go find something that you had never had to look for before. And you know what? It's in the same store. All these years you've gone to the same store, walked past it, but you weren't looking for it. It didn't exist. You gave it focus, and all of a sudden, poof, They're stalking, whatever. Right? You've done this, right? This is the way our minds work. So when people, well-meaning, lovely, wonderful people, who want to share with you why you can't have what you want, who want to invite you into the realm of realistic being, right? Do you know these people, right? I just want you to understand what you're saying, they say. Several people have tried that, and it never worked. No one in our family has ever. Right? But you see, invention is always happening on the other side of what is known and what is possible. Mark Twain says to us this: it ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. Mark Twain's got it going on, I gotta say, right? You talk to the most ignorant person you know, and they will talk to you with complete certainty about how it is. Right? They'll even throw God into it. If God had wanted, right? Sometimes in our ignorance, we just like to really get a hard and fast opinion about how life is. For those of us that have been in this teaching for a while, oh my God, have you discovered what a mess your mind is? It's like, all that's going on in me, right? Because I'm paying attention through meditation. Just want you to know. In fact, this idea of the winter feast for the soul was birthed out of a friend of mine's idea from a Rumi quote. And the Rumi quote is this: what 9 months does for the embryo, 40 days of meditation will do for the soul. And so the 40 days is this idea of being still. And as we're learning to be still, as we're learning to practice prayer and meditation, we begin to realize there's multiple voices going on in my head. I refer to it as the committee, right? And the committee, there's different members of the committee who are checking in. Some of them are very powerful and inspiring and uplifting. Others, not so much, right? And so I have learned, and what we are learning in Science of Mind is we need to give especially that overworked crew that has been so busy telling you why you can't have what you want, and you can't be who you are, and why you'll never amount to anything. That crew, like, take a break. Take a vacation. Thank you for sharing. Take a vacation. I'm now going to work with the power of my intention. And just as I begin to say, what is present? What am I looking for? Poof, it manifests into being. It's the way it works. And what quantum physics is telling us is exactly the same idea. That there are no casual observances. That by the act of observation, we affect the experiment. It's fascinating. That it literally does not exist until we bring it into our own consciousness. If you want to think about this, all of reality happens in here. Because we perceive this field of infinite possibility through a filter, and so it's all happening here. And we talk about it with such certainty. We say, this happened. Really? How do you know that? My friend Mark Twain says, it ain't what you know that gets you into trouble. It ain't what you don't know that gets you in trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so. As we begin to explore this, if I'm living as a part of this field of infinite possibility, and I influence this field through my thought, my word, my action, my belief, it might make sense for me to work at that level, which is contrary to just about everything else you've learned in your life, right? We have a cash flow problem. So we say, I know I'll go get more money. That will solve it. Right? And it will if, and only if, we've done the inner work to realize how we participated in consciousness to create that situation in the first place. Otherwise, we just create a bigger situation because now we have more money. Right? Some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of us, never mind. I'm being gracious and kind. It's a new year. What I want to say is this. We exist in a sea of limitless possibility, as Ernest Holmes said. He says this, the possibilities of the law are infinite, and our possibilities of using it are limitless. And then he goes on to say, however, we can only demonstrate at our ability to know. Beyond this, we cannot go. What is he saying? He's saying there's infinite possibility. There's a law of mind that will create whatever you can conceive and believe. But you have to conceive and believe it. And so if we go around telling our limiting story again and again and again, we end up creating the same result again and again and again. And then we say, well, it is so, because look at the evidence, right? So as we spoke about it last week, what we have to do is create a new model. We say, what if what I believe to be so is not so? What becomes possible? What if I am that divine being filled with infinite possibility, that I inhabit the same field of possibility that the great masters have used and taught? What becomes possible for me then? It is my belief that the great teachers through the ages have tried to help us to understand our power. What humanity has tended to do is then make it about them. Oh, Jesus. God, he's good. And he is. I love Jesus. Buddha. Whoo. Wish I could be like Buddha. You can. You can be like that. You have that power. The divine delights in its self-expression. Hildegard de Bingen, a great spiritual mystic, wrote this. And she explains the passion that God has for us. She says, with my mouth, God says, I kiss my own chosen creation. I uniquely, lovingly embrace every image I have made out of the earth's clay. With a fiery spirit, I transform it into a body to serve all the world. The divine is seeking to have an experience of itself through you and as you. It's wanting to know itself as joy, as love, as peace, as harmony, as abundance. And it is waiting for our recognition for that truth to be so, and for us to live accordingly to that truth. Holmes says, the law is limitless, the potentiality is limitless. What does that leave? Oh, me. Okay. So we expand and say yes. So on that, let us just move into prayer. Let us know that wherever you are, perhaps your life, it reflects 99% of what you want to believe. Maybe it reflects 5% of what you want to believe. It doesn't matter. You're loved, nurtured, and supported in being fully who you are here. So as we enter into that sacred space, we're simply knowing right here, right now, that this infinite possibility, this divine presence, is seeking its highest revelation through us, as us, making itself known for our highest good. We're simply opening our hearts and saying yes. We're opening our minds and saying yes. We're opening the very portal of our being to say yes. Express through me, as my highest good. We're calling forth the presence of wholeness, knowing that it reveals itself as health, as well-being, as vitality. We're calling forth the presence of love, knowing that it is the only reality. We joyously and generously forgive ourselves and each other. We allow love to flow through us, healing and transforming what has been and what shall be. We are knowing that right here, right now, we live in a state of pure abundance, for we are one with the source of all that is creation. How good it is to know this truth, to stand witness, to bear witness to that which is seeking its expression as us right here. And so if there is a burden on your heart, I invite you that into this sacred space, we simply engage a new possibility. We allow something new to be born again. We stand with Hildegard and saying, I kiss my own chosen creation, and we name it good. How grateful I am for this truth, how blessed we are. And so we give thanks for those blessings, realized and yet to be realized. We extend a blessing from this place. We bless this spiritual community, knowing that we are divinely guided and abundantly supplied. We speak the word of truth as we hold a high watch, a high vision for a world that does work for everyone and for all things. We see a planet at peace. And as always, we bless our priests, rabbis, ministers, and teachers of all faiths. We celebrate the divine in all its form. In your heart, I invite you in this moment to simply say yes. Yes to that which is seeking its revelation. Yes to that which wants to be known. It is good. And so with joy and gratitude, then I simply give thanks, releasing this word into that law of mind, knowing it is so, as together we say, and so it is.